so funny. I prefer show Maggie to comic Maggie. Comic Maggie is a bit more
I love them both.
erratic. I like them both. I especially like I actually think I like where comic Maggie ends up more
Yeah,
because of
me
where the
too.
story takes her.
Hmm.
But at this stage in the story, they definitely soften Maggie a lot for the
Yeah.
show.
And that's one reason why that didn't make as much sense, what she
Yeah,
said.
that I think
Because
you're
she's
right
a
when you
little
say
bit
that.
more like a goth girl or something in the comic, like a
In the
little.
comic, she's more like Beth in some ways. Like Beth kind of dallies a bit with more sort of teenage emotions in terms of like
Hmm.
wanting to self-harm and
Right.
being quite having quite bad mental health in a lot of way understatement of the year for anyone in The Walking Dead. Um which is much more Maggie's storyline in the comics, whereas the Maggie that we see in the show is pretty stable. Like she
Well
wobbles, but
adjusted. Yeah.
yeah, no more or less than kind of anyone else in that sense. So yeah, I do agree with you that it does seem a bit out of character for the Maggie we know here. But when Glenn says, I was thinking I would be dead tomorrow, I am like, oh yeah, no, you would do stuff differently if you really thought your life was on the line and you had just
Totally.
been dropped down a well like a canned ham.
That's right. Yeah, I can't disagree with that. Good point.
Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. I loved seeing them together. I don't think Rick was like, these guys are totally gonna fuck, but I do think he would recognize that Glenn was sweet on Maggie and that it might be nice for them to hang out. I don't know. Maybe Rick's really innocent.
I think he's oblivious. I don't know why I
I
think
know.
that. I just think he's like, yeah, Glenn's the guy who got into town a lot. I should put these two together, not even
Because you
realizing,
don't
but
believe
I
in
don't know why.
love. You don't
No,
believe in the
no, I
Rick
don't believe
Grimes
in Rick knows anything about love.
matchmaking.
I guess.
I
I don't know.
mean, fair. Um, yeah. I
What else?
Lauren Cohen and Stephen Yeun are both super hot. I'm just like, yeah, that I'm here for this romance. It's great. And it's nice to see just an uncomplicated love story blossoming.
Hmm. Yeah, that's true. It is good. I like complicated things, but it's nice to have one that's not that complicated and it's just sweet.
It's just sweet. And I want to kind
Until
of
dun,
I know that's the thing. So I'm like, I
dun,
want to just enjoy it.
dun.
My last point is sort of the other end of the spectrum, which is Shane and Andrea. I,
Hmm.
I find myself kind of rooting for Shane and Andrea as a couple, which is really awful because I
Yeah.
don't particularly like either of them. But
Well, maybe
without
that's
Laurie
why.
around, you can see them, Andrea wants to learn, Shane wants to teach her. There's a bit of an alliance there.
Hmm.
They are both kind of outsiders. What Andrea says about them kind of sticking out of the group because they're not part of any of those units is true.
She said something to him and he just kind of shut it down a little bit, but I think in a way that she found really attractive. Like,
Yeah,
he knows
I'm
how
gonna
to handle
say
me.
I don't think Andrea's got great taste in men. I'm like, just don't. I mean,
Yeah.
oh my God, as well. I just want to give a moment for how like
Good point.
horrific Shane looks in Otis's clothes. Like I was actually laughing my head off at the opening scenes of this, where it's like short-haired John Bernthal with his ears sticking out like some kind of cartoon of a hillbilly in those overall dungaree situation things, digging a grave for this dude that he's just killed. It really made me laugh. I was like, you know what? If you can still pull when you look like that, then fine.
I didn't know
Um,
you were such a lobe shamer, but okay.
The way they were shooting it though, I miss his lovely hair. Grow your hair back, John Bernthal. It looks nicer.
Grow it nice and long.
Yeah, grow it long. Thank you. Um, I don't think much happens with Andrea and Shane in this one. She kind of sticks up for Dale a little bit. Like Shane is trying to suck up to her by being like, "Oh, Dale's worried that you're going to blow your brains out, etc., etc." But you can see them getting a bit closer,
Hmm.
which I think comes to fruition quite soon, if I remember my timeline correctly. And that could have been a nice, in a world where Laurie wasn't pregnant and Shane didn't go quite as off the rails as he did. You can maybe see a Shane and Andrea thing working out.
Yeah.
But
And
alas, it is not to be.
I remember thinking when they hooked up, I think I remember thinking, man, that seemed to come out of the blue too. But now we're seeing the seeds of it in each episode. There's a little interaction between the two of them. So yeah.
Yeah. Um, and that's it for my points. I think that
I had
is.
one more.
Yeah.
It's also about Shane. He's feeling guilty about what he did with
Mm-hmm.
Otis, and they're really making a lot of hay out of it. Like
Oh, he has
Rick
that
saying
monologue. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they'd have
Sorry.
lost Carl if not for Shane. And I agree with that. And that's the show reinforcing it. But you tell he feels uncomfortable hearing it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, Herschel gives the eulogy for Otis. And he's saying he died as he lived in grace. And then you see Shane flashing back on this horror. And it's hilarious. Stop punching me. And then and it's sad, but it's also kind of funny.
Oh,
And then
so funny.
Herschel says, Shane, will you speak for Otis? Which is hilarious. And Shane's like, I'm not good at it. Sorry. And Patricia, you were the last one with him. Will you share his final moments?
Oh,
I was
Patricia's
like,
so
okay,
into
well,
it.
I shot him in the knee and then he started clawing at me.
Yeah. Then you pull my hair out, dickhead. Like.
Now I got this haircut. But
Oh.
I actually felt bad for Shane here. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to do all that. It's another thing to be like, A, wearing that disgusting outfit, and B, having to like sit through the funeral while everyone's
yeah,
like,
when people want you to speak, and
oh,
yeah, he's wearing the outfit too. That just adds another level of horribleness to it. And then he says, if not for Otis, I never would have made it out alive. And that goes for
not
Carl
untrue.
too. If any death ever had meaning, it was his. It was a nice thing to say. And I was thinking, it's too bad Shane can't tell the truth of what happened. I don't think he could, but if he were to, it would sound something like, we were both hobbled. If one of us didn't sacrifice himself to distract the walkers, we both would have died, and so would have Carl. I told Otis to go ahead, but he refused, so I shot Otis to save myself and Carl. If I hadn't done that, all three of us would have died. I don't know how Otis could have survived this no matter what I did, something like that. But I think if he
Yeah.
said that, then they'd be like, get off our farm.
Patricia would have just like bitten his throat out and it'd be like, oh, okay.
Right.
Oh, I love Patricia.
And then when he's talking to Andrea about the guns, he's giving her a lesson. Paper targets is one thing, easy to hit what ain't moving, but taking down an assailant, one that's trying to kill you, it's different. They say in that kind of situation, things slow down. That's crap. They speed up. Adrenaline, it'll cripple you if you let it. You need to use your instinct. You got to rule it out because somebody's going to die, and you'd better hope that you're the one who's making that decision. So he's talking about a situation where another person has a gun, which I think is because of his police training. It doesn't really apply to zombies, but I wonder if he's thinking about when Rick got shot and he blamed himself for not seeing the third guy.
Yeah.
But it also seems relevant to Otis. It's not at all the same situation where you have an assailant threaten you, but Shane did make the decision here, and he said, you better hope you're the one who's making the decision because someone's going to die. And then he goes, there ain't nothing easy about taking a man's life, no matter how little value it may have. But when you get it done, you have to forget it. I guess I haven't quite got that last part down yet. I think he's totally thinking about Otis here. So
He's telling her without telling her. I don't think Andrea realizes, but
no,
yeah.
I don't think so. She probably just thinks he killed someone in the line of duty or something, right?
Yeah, he's a bad boy.
That's why I love this guy. Yeah. So, notes.
I'm looking for my notes. Laurie takes the quickest pregnancy test in the world. Like I think you usually have to wait a few moments, but she's like, oh, nope, that's me pregnant.
I'm so pregnant, it just came out.
I'm so pregnant, the test just exploded. Like, I did feel for her in the field on her own with that. I mean, that's got to be devastating. Like I spoke about a little bit about this at the top, but like not only is it kind of an unwanted pregnancy likely out of infidelity, it's also like death sentence.
Right.
And that's
unintentional infidelity, but
yeah exactly. She's
still complicated.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
She's of course hasn't told Rick about that yet, and I can't remember if she tells him about the pregnancy, but I'm guessing not, since she's been keeping it all a secret. So it's very soap opera.
Yeah. I think he finds both the morning after pills and the pronatal vitamins. So yeah, it's a mixed message for Rick. And it's just quite a powerful scene to end on her own in the field like that.
Mm-hmm. Even hear the sound of the peeing, which is an
Yeah, quite
interesting
graphic.
choice.
Yeah, well
Yeah.
done, Sarah Wayne Callies. I know it was a sound effect, but still. Like,
Maybe.
maybe not.
So when Herschel's giving his eulogy, it's kind of striking to see pretty much everyone in the cast all lined up there, except for Carl, who's in bed. And
Yeah.
couldn't help but think how many of those are gone. Patricia, of course, and Jimmy, but
Yeah.
also Beth, Andrea, Lori, Shane, Dale, and Glenn, all gone. And
And
alive
Herschel.
are and Herschel. God, I can't believe I forgot him. And also and alive are Maggie, Carol, Rick, and Daryl.
That's wild.
So
And Judith, if you count Judith as being
Judith,
seen.
yeah. That's right. That's right. Uh we see the barn, as you said, set off, and I feel like this is really the first full view of the barn. They are starting to focus on it now to sort of hint that there's something about that barn. But when I see it, it's just one of my most vivid memories of being on set is feeling the intense heat coming off of it when it went up in flames, just like
Oh, well, that's
really
cool.
hot. uh, the shiny Hyundai is very prominent. Is this the first time it's been so prominent? I don't know. Maybe not.
They cleaned it in the first episode, and it's getting there. It's becoming a main character.
Shane asked Lori if she meant it when she asked him to stay.
Yes.
And Lori kind of demurely goes, I meant it. And that did make me wonder if it's really all about Carl or if there's something more. Because if it is about Carl, then she should have said, I meant it for Carl's sake, and that's all that I meant. But otherwise, I feel like it's just encouraging him because we know that he thought he should leave because he couldn't let go of the idea of not being with Lori. So needs to make it clear that's not what it's about if that's not what it's about, you know?
This is where it gets a bit murky, I think.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
I always thought it was weird to have people with similar names. Daryl, Dale, Carol, Carl, and Merle. You had to kill some of them off just to keep it clear.
I like that. Yeah, that's a fair point.
I always thought I was critical that there would be anything left in the pharmacy because I think people would just loot the hell out of everything, especially a pharmacy. But I think that's why they put the sign outside that said, take what you need and God bless. Maybe that helps explain it a little. Maybe in a small town, people might respect that and just take what they need. I think that was the idea of that sign anyway. I kind of doubt it, but maybe.
It's hope, isn't it? You hope that people would be like that. In reality, we'd be fighting over toilet paper. Like,
yeah, maybe. And then last, T-Dog says to Dale, what I said on the highway, I didn't know what that was or where it came from. It wasn't me. If it's okay, I'd rather you never told anybody about that stuff. I said, and Dale said, what stuff? I couldn't get a word out of you all day, which was a nice little exchange.
Love that moment.
Then T-Dog flashes his big smile, and he's got such a great smile. And it reminds me of when I was on the farm, a bunch of us zombies were just milling around at night, and Irony Singleton walks out, and he's just like, 10 feet away or something like that. And I just was watching him like, there's T-Dog. That is so cool. And he just like turned and looked over, and I guess he just saw me watching him, and he just walked over to me through a few other zombies and gave me a hug.
Oh,
and I never
what a nice dude.
Knew him or anything. Yeah. And I was like, wow, what a nice guy.
Oh,
so cool.
That's really cute.
Yeah. It's a good guy.
Oh.
All right. What about trivia?
Not a lot. I thought there'd be loads for this episode. The IMDb told me that the Cherokee Rose was a state flower of Georgia. That it came to the USA in roughly 1790, not 1780, as I read elsewhere. The beer bottle that Daryl puts the Cherokee Rose in is from Sweetwater Brewery, which is a Georgia brewery, not too far from where the farm is. So that's a little nod to the local area. Nice. And for some reason, this was a fact in IMDb. In Victoria, Australia, there is a town called Glen Maggie. All one word. So if we have any listeners from Glen Maggie, let us know, because I thought that was really
cool.
interesting. And in our apocalypse timeline, we are moving really at a snail's pace. It's still only day 68. So all the Otis stuff went down in the small hours of the morning. And this is,
So he
yeah, this
died
is
just
just
the
the day
night
after.
before, huh? And this is just
Yeah,
the
I would
next day.
imagine round about 1 or 2 a.m. And this is them the
And
day
Rick's
after.
like, "Can we stay here forever?"
Yeah. Please,
Sorry,
please, can
killed
we
your guy,
stay? I guess Otis must have had a room. Like, can we have his room? Like, no, you cannot.
It
Yeah.
does say here Sarah Wayne Kelly's actually peed in the up. No, I'm just kidding.
I am DP.
So, only on The Walking Dead would they spend 6 episodes building up our hopes, only to crush them. I guess that comes a little later, but that's what I was thinking of.
Only on The Walking Dead would they, I don't know, waste a cooked ham on a zombie in a well. That's my choice for this episode.
They're like, we need to risk someone's life because water is important, and then it gets all fucked up, and they're like, oh well, seal off that dam. I guess we'll figure out something else.
We'll use one of the other 4 that we have.
That would have been great if Maggie would have been like, well, I guess we'll have to use one of them other wells.
Yeah, well, there are 5 wells.
Oh, there are? Well, what the hell,
says
man?
that. She's like, there are 5 wells on our property.
I didn't even hear that. Dude, that makes it
not even the only well.
100 times stupider.
That's the one that the cows
Jesus
drink
Christ.
out of.
That's important.
Yep, those cows have been drinking skanky water.
B. I heard the gingerbread boy, cause he's pretend bread boy. Little cookie man never waved to me, so he got knocked out because I flow. Little jiggy jar jar dude, dinner. Man, I just flow, shoe shine. No one wanted your stinking tiara.
Obvious threat to untold numbers of citizens.
The people it kills get up and kill.
Are they slow-moving, Chief?
Yeah, they're dead. They're all messed up.
This is a Walking Dead Cast news update.
All right, just a couple of things, some speculation. If you follow the Marvel Cinematic Universe very closely, you know that the next big villain is, or maybe was, supposed to be Kang the Conqueror, who up to now has been played by Angela Kang, who's been played by actor Jonathan Majors. He appeared in the Loki TV series, both seasons, and in Ant-Man Quantumania, and maybe something else, I can't remember, and an upcoming Avengers movies called Avengers the Kang Dynasty. But Jonathan Majors was recently fired by Marvel/Disney because he was found guilty on charges of assault and harassment of a former girlfriend. And so now there's talk about what Marvel will do next. That there's been talk maybe they'll shift over to a new big bad guy, Dr. Doom or something, or maybe they'll recast the role. And the reason why I'm talking about this is I just read a couple of rumors that Coleman Domingo was being considered, who played Strand in Fear the Walking Dead.
Huh.
That would be awesome.
I can see that.
He's a good actor. I saw a trailer for a movie he's in that's on Netflix now called Rustin, which is about this gay civil rights activist, Bayard Rustin, who organized the march in Washington where Martin Luther King gave his I Have a Dream speech. And he looked great in the trailer. It made me want to watch the movie. He won a Golden Globe for it. He's also won an Emmy for his guest spot in HBO's Euphoria, and he's in the new version of The Color Purple. So he's been getting some work after Fear, which makes me feel really good.
Why the fuck was he? Anyway, yeah, no, only good things for Coleman Domingo. I'm bewildered about why he was still on Fear at the end. Yeah, I can see it. I think he might be a good fit for that role.
I do. I totally do. I think he'd be awesome. Do you know? Have you seen any of that? Quantumania or Loki?
I think I missed Quantumania. I've caught bits and pieces of Loki because Peter's been watching it, but I haven't been watching it in earnest. I really enjoyed Jonathan Majors in Lovecraft Country. It's disappointing to see how things have turned out for him and the things he's done, but yeah, interesting to see where it'll take Marvel, I guess.
And I'm not saying this just because it turns out that apparently he's a total douchebag, but I never really liked his acting that much. I didn't understand. he just is weird. He's acting all weird. So,
Did you
anyway.
watch Lovecraft Country?
No, I really didn't get into that. I think I saw the first episode. So
Yeah, I really
don't
enjoyed
remember.
that. But that's
He
I
was
think
really
that's
good
the
in
only thing I'd really seen him in.
Speaking of the MCU, we'd mentioned in a past episode that Steven Yeun was rumored to be playing this character called the Sentry in the upcoming Thunderbolts movie. I was excited, but now Variety reports that Steven Yeun has pulled out of the movie.
But he's announced a new thing that he's in today.
He's going to be Spider-Man. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, he's going to be Spider-Man. According to comingsoon.net, Steven Yeun is reportedly reteaming with Minari director Lee Isaac Chung for a new romance movie. According to IndieWire, Killers of the Flower Moon, The Osage Murders, and The Birth of the FBI author David Gran is writing a small love story for Lee Isaac Chung to direct. It will star Yeun, who played the lead role in Minari, and will be produced by Parasite director Bong Joon-ho.
That's cool. I'm glad that Steven Yeun works with some of the same people. Bong Joon-ho, of course, directed Parasite, which was an amazing movie. It won Best Film a few years ago. But he also directed Okja, which Steven Yeun was in. It was really good. And he's doing this movie called Mickey 17. It's a science fiction movie written, directed, and co-produced by Bong Joon-ho. And it's stars Robert Pattinson, Steven Yeun, Toni Collette, among others,
wow.
Mark Ruffalo, released March 29th, 2024. So I had forgotten about that. It was announced a while back. But anyway,
we'll need to cover that. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I hope it's good. But yeah, great people to go back to work with. But I mean, you're suggesting that maybe he bailed out of Thunderbolts to do this movie. It might
I don't know. I mean, he says it's timing and stuff. I mean, it probably is, but it seems what we've said about Steven Yeun wanting to be taken seriously. I was surprised when I heard he was going to do Marvel. I was pleased, but I was a bit like, oh, okay. So this maybe makes more sense as a move for him.
Thunderbolts, the one he was going to be in, is written or co-written by Beef creator Lee Sung-jin. So that might be how he got attached. Talking about why he left, he said to Variety, "I think for me, time passing and things shifting kind of pulled me out of it. But Jake Schreier, the director, I guess, I know is going to do an incredible job." So that sounds a little nebulous, like, I just realized over time I didn't want to do it. I mean, the news articles had been framing it as a scheduling thing, but from what he said, it doesn't sound like that. It sounds like there's more to the story. But he does say, "I want to do a Marvel movie. It took a lot of drafts on email to make sure that I conveyed the sincerity of how sorry I was to have to back out." And then when they asked him what Marvel movie he would want to work on, he said, "I think it's too early to say that. I probably pissed off too many people leaving. So I'm just going to say thank you for having me. I have some ideas. But I heard if you put it out there, you'll never get it. So I'll keep it close to my chest." So to me, that sounds like he does have an idea of what he might want to do for Marvel. And I don't know, man, the more Steven Yeun, I think he's just very particular about what he wants to do. I've said that before. He's careful. And maybe he just had second thoughts about this one. But if you can believe him, it sounds like he does have maybe the development of Thunderbolts, there was something that he didn't like, Yeah.
Maybe he wants to be Kang.
Maybe he wants to be Kang. That would be awesome. Or maybe the Sentry ended up being comic relief and he's like, "I'm not doing that anymore." I don't know. Yeah,
you never know. Maybe there was a well scene and he's like, "I'm not doing that anymore. I've been down my last well." Like, okay.
Like, yeah, for some reason he just emailed us and said he's been down his last well and that was it.
That diva with his no well rider.
All right, now it's time for some listener moans, groans, grunts. We got kind of a bunch. I'm happy that you guys are engaged with this. It's great.
I'm having fun. I feel like I should add feedback that I'm really enjoying doing the rewatch. But first up, we have Cara Latiole. Apologies if I pronounced that wrong.
Do you want me to tell you how to say it right?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Laturle. That's how she
Laturle. Oh, that's a lovely name. Cara laterally says, I was still all in for season 2 when this episode aired. I remember hating the wait between the previous episode and this one because I wanted to see how things played out with Shane after sacrificing Otis. That being said, I was pretty much over that damn farm from this episode right up until the finale, with the exception of that Sophia reveal in episode 7. Ugh. For this episode, I loved seeing the beginning of Carol and Daryl's friendship, Maggie and Glenn's romance, and the utterly disgusting Well Walker. When Daryl gave Carol the Cherokee Rose, he really started to grow on me. In a rewatch, it just makes me wish we'd gotten more Carol and Daryl moments overall.
I'm trying to think if I agree with that. I do think this, given how their story developed, this scene just takes on a whole new significance and perspective, and it's really cool to see at this point. And when I first saw it, I thought it was cheesy, but now I think it's really sweet. Thanks, Kara. Val Leroy says, definitely not enough zombies, although the one in the well ripping in two made up for it. I did like seeing the beginning of Maggie and Glenn's romance, and also the friendship between Daryl and Carol, although I remember it made me cringe the first time I watched it. Yeah, I'm right there with you. Carol isn't doing much at all except waiting around. I'm glad her character evolved later on. Oh, and I listened to the old podcast from this episode again, and I laughed when you, Jason, predicted that Merle was going to come back with Sophia in the next episode. I wish that prediction was right, so we didn't have to wait another 3 episodes to be done with that storyline.
Oh, oh, what a terrible babysitter Merle would be.
I know.
Oh God. Thanks, Val. Alex Kruger says, "Hey guys, long-time listener, first-time commenter." Oh, thank you, Alex. This episode is a tough one to get through. Its pace is so slow, but there are some top shelf moments. The introduction of the Cherokee Rose, which Daryl also later puts on Carol's empty grave at the prison, the Well Walker, and of course Maggie and Glenn's first tryst. Not to mention the first indication that a little ass kicker will be joining our merry band of survivors. Yet the episode is still just meh. This section of the series is a less effective version of the Game of Thrones staple, smart people in rooms having smart conversations, and it just doesn't hit right. The next few episodes are better, so we just had to get through this slog. Great work on this rewatch so far, team. Don't get bit. Aw, thanks, Alex.
Yeah. To me, watching it now, I'm like, oh, this eulogy scene is twisted in a funny and sort of sad way for Shane,
Yeah.
because they're like, can you speak, Shane? And then, I mean, the scene with Maggie and Glenn, all their scenes are just gold. And what was the other aspect? I mean, the Herschel, like getting to know Rick is pretty good. Like, yeah, on rewatch, I like way more of it than I don't like. So I think there's a lot of great moments. The well scene is kind of dumb, but also really cool to see the gorishness of it. So I like it more.
Absolutely.
No. Chandra Wright says, it's hard for me to recall what I originally thought or felt during these episodes, but I've always been so fond of Herschel. He's calm, a great dad, a man of faith, and becomes a good friend and sounding board, not only to Rick, but to so many characters he comes into contact with. This time around, it dawned on me that Daryl's insistence that Sophia was still alive was rooted in Merle's disappearance and his hopes for his brother. That's interesting. I should have realized before that the level of his intensity to find her was rooted in his own circumstance. If little Sophia could make it on her own, that would mean his brother could too. That's not to say he wasn't genuinely hoping to find her alive. I just realized it was also symbolic for him. I think I might have been thinking that early on too, but I don't know for sure. Interesting.
Yeah. I hadn't thought of that, Chandra. I like that. Jennifer McGinley says, what? This one was a belter. Loads of season 2 Daryl to swing over. I do admit the Cherokee Rose speech to Carol was a bit vomit-inducing and totally out of character for Daryl, who hadn't that long spat in Carol's face. She ain't my kid. Paraphrasing. Ooh, flashback to Carol's face. Tremendous acting. Well Walker, where's Glenn? Glenn, get in the well, laughing my ass off. We trip to the pharmacy. What's not to love? Season 2 excites me. There's not a bad episode in it. Chupacabra and Nebraska are in my top 5 episodes. Sure, there's some shite in it. Beth's suicidal ideation and Andrew's involvement in that was a bit superfluous. Laurie's hilarious road traffic accident and killing a walker with a biro. Carol's utter stupidity getting Carol's utter stupidity getting Dale killed. I remember on first watch being so sad about Dale, and every rewatch I'm like, oh fucking die, you sanctimonious old bastard. Sorry, turning this into a review for the whole of season 2 later. P.S. I wasn't going to join your rewatch until season 3, as I've seen season 1 and season 2 so many times, but I'm going to join you here at Cherokee Rose and watch along. And I'm not just saying that because Chupacabra's next. Or am I? I don't know, Jennifer, are you?
I think yes.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Becky Fenner Anderson says, hello, TWD fam. Here are my thoughts. Shane and Otis clothing looked ridiculous. I didn't even notice. Now I got to go back and look. Sweet Carl asking about Sophia as soon as he wakes up. I'm not sure why I find Carl so annoying the first time around. Dang. Yeah, like the first time he was like, where's Sophia? And I'm like, shut up.
Shut up, dork.
Bernthal did another great job when Shane was asked to give the speech. You could see every emotion out there run across his face before he agreed to speak and during the speech. He wasn't completely honest about what went down, but I thought the end, when describing what kind of man Otis was very meaningful. He twitches his head a lot when he's feeling ashamed.
Mm-hmm. He does.
It's weird to see Herschel helping plan the search for Sophia, knowing what we do now. I couldn't understand why he was so insistent on why Rick's group leave ASAP and stay away from the barn. Now I know. I totally forgot about the swimmer in the well. The makeup department did an excellent job on that one. So gross. Glenn's response to them sending him down there was funny. Maggie's reaction when T-Dog killed it was very telling. It's obvious now that it was most likely because she hadn't seen that much, because Herschel won't let them be killed. Could also just be because that thing was really gross.
Yeah.
Shane's conversation with Andrea, I felt that whole bit was about what happened when Otis and his relationships with Carl and Rick. More good acting by Bernthal. You can really see how all of this is really messing with his mindset. Yeah. Glenn getting flustered when Maggie catches him with the condoms is so precious. He's just adorable. Though I did find his disapproving look at Laurie kind of shitty. Mind your business, Glenn. I don't think he was disapproving. I think he just didn't want to get involved. Right?
I think he was worried. I think he's just a bit like, oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. Is he judgmental? Maybe. Yeah, maybe you're right. I hadn't thought about that. You could be right. Daryl giving the Cherokee Rose to Carol and telling her the story tugged at my heart. I think this is the beginning of their incredible bond. It's obvious how much he's grown to care about her and Sophia. The passing of the sheriff's hat. I thought it was cheesy on first watch, but found it sweet this time. I also thought it was cute how Carl was so proud to have been shot just like his dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see him feeling that way. They're bonding. He's in the club now. The response to that pregnancy test Laurie took is the fastest I've ever seen.
Yes.
Laurie's regret in that final scene was strong. Favorite quotes. When lowering Glenn into the well, Shane says, "We're going to get you out of here in one piece." Glenn says, "Living piece, living part is important." Herschel, when he and Rick were talking about fatherhood, said, "Some men don't earn the love of their sons. I don't see you having that problem." Aw. Maggie and Glenn on their ride after their quote ride. Winky face. Maggie, don't spoil it. Glenn with a cheesy grin on his face. So it was good. I really like this episode. Definitely one of the better ones of this season.
Oh, I like that message a lot. Thanks, Becky. I also liked Rick's line to Carl about Laurie would probably prefer it if they just had the same eyes in common rather than both being shot. Our friend Karen Shee, who was on last week with us, we love you, Karen, says, the Well Walker lives in infamy as it showcases Greg Nicotero's disgusting brilliance. That said, it felt like the show just needed to check off a zombie quota, so they made our characters do something completely stupid. Yeah. Andrea says they can't shoot the Walker lest its viscera contaminates the water, but on rewatch, I noticed that Maggie protests its killing because she still believes that walkers can be rehabilitated, hence the glances she exchanged with Herschel earlier. Speaking of Herschel, I never noticed how much I love conversations between Rick and Herschel. There is so much mutual grace and respect between them, even as they have different philosophies about faith and God. I look forward to more of Scott Wilson's wisdom and warmth. I squealed internally to see the seeds of so many beautiful relationships in this episode. Rick and Daryl have an interesting interaction too. I ache for Daryl's need to ingratiate himself to the group, even as Rick tells him he has nothing to prove. It's a defense mechanism that I know well, and the same external validation that sends Glenn to always put himself on the line. Lastly, I love the pharmacy scene with Glenn and Maggie. Yes, it's funny to see Glenn stammer and squirm, but the scene is more complex than that. It runs through different emotions in the span of 5 minutes. Firstly, this shows that Maggie has been sassy and assertive from day one. She's firing off questions at Glenn and doesn't let him answer because she enjoys razzing him, like a predator playing with its prey before pouncing on him completely. But then her guard comes down. She's completely vulnerable with him admitting, "You're not the only one who's lonely." She's intimate with him before they even get physical. It's a beautiful little scene that shows the importance of human connection. Sadly, when Glenn dies in season 7, she still has all the fire, but the playfulness and light behind her eyes are gone. Extra trivia: the music score that's played in this scene gets a reprise when Glenn asks fucking hell, sorry, Karen. When Glenn asks Maggie to marry him in season 3. Oh, and a follow-up to last week's Save the Last One. I forgot to say that it is one of my favorite episodes of the series because I think it is definitive TWD. It has stakes, it has action, it has character moments and philosophical musings. When my friends who have never seen TWD ask me which episode is accessible yet represents it best, I always think of Save the Last One. What about you guys? Thanks again for all you do, Jason and Lucy. Much love. Oh, much love to you too, Karen. Good question about quintessential Walking Dead episode.
Yeah, that's accessible because I'd have to think about that, but because my favorite is still probably the trough, which I think is season 5, episode 1.
It's a lot, right?
Finale was pretty great too. Yeah, I don't know if I'd send someone there right away because the thing about this show too is it gets more and more violent as it goes along, at least for the first 7 seasons, and so you kind of need to be desensitized that and not thrown into the deep end of the pool.
Maybe the pilot or
the pilot,
something from season 2. I think you might be onto something, Karen, with Save the Last One.
Yeah, right, maybe so. All right, Tej says, Jason, Lucy, I'm so excited to have seen this because I normally don't pick up on this type of artistry in film and TV. I also can't track the plot in musicals because I feel the song so much that I forgot to track the lyrics. Anyway, this shot, he sent a picture. This shot is so beautifully composed and was the first we saw of Rick and Lori after they argued about killing Carl for his own good. It's beautiful. Rick in the light, Lori in the dark, close physically, but yet so far apart. Sorry, I didn't get my rewatch in on time, but I'm caught up now. Yeah, this is just a scene of Rick and Lori sitting close to each other, but they're kind of back to back and both looking disconnected, and he's in the light and she's in the dark.
It's a nice catch. Really like it.
All right, we got a few calls. Here's Gloria.
Hi, Lucy and Jason. It's Gloria from Salem. This is for The Walking Dead, Season 2, Episode 4, Cherokee Rose. So good to see Beth. Oh my God, I was heartbroken when she died. That's horrible. But not this season. So sweet of Kyle to be thinking of Sophia when he wakes up. Oh, honey, it's not going to be pretty. No. That was a very nice speech that Shane made, but the audience certainly knew he was lying his ass off. After watching it again, I can't believe I'm saying this because I never was too fond of Shane, right from the beginning, but he was right to leave Otis. Granted, he wasn't right to shoot him, but it was pretty clear that only one of them was going to make it out. Talk about a conundrum. Hello, farmer's daughter. Glenn is adorable. Thanks, Lori. I'd love to pick you up a pregnancy test. Sure, no problem. The swimmer, walker, more like a bloater. Jesus, poor Glenn. He must have been petrified. I never noticed before that Glenn had peed his pants. Did anyone else see that? I don't blame him. I would have shit mine. Jesus. He was so brave.
I didn't hear that either.
Maggie. A woman after my own heart. So bold and straightforward. Something wrong with me? I'll have sex with you. She's the aggressor. I love it. Why aren't there more women like Maggie? Jeez, TMI, guys? Sorry, not sorry, but I'm pretty bold myself.
I agree.
Oh, Glenn, Mr. All Smiles. After that, he's so funny. And Daryl, shocked as he goes in the trailer after Carol cleaned it up. I would have been too. Then one of the sweetest moments, how much a difference a single flower can make. Love that story about the Cherokee Rose. Quite poetic of Daryl. And Cal, oh, what a little sweetheart. Such a talented kid. Loved that ending with Rick. Of course, the reveal that Lori's pregnant. Kind of expected it, though. That's it for this episode. You guys take care. Ciao.
Oh.
Thanks, Gloria.
I always think Andy Lincoln and Chandler Riggs have really nice chemistry when they're on screen together.
Oh, yeah. Me too. Absolutely. And I think I already told the story, but when I brought Nico backstage with him at Walker Stalker and he just like knelt down and had a little conversation with him when he was like 7 years old. He's just really good with kids.
That's so cool. I'm obviously going to go back and see if Glenn peed his pants. Because I didn't notice. So, yeah, if you can pee your pants in front of a woman who then wants to have sex with you a few hours later, you're doing well.
Doing something right. I'm going to try that.
Yeah, see what happens.
See what happens. I'll report back next week. Yeah. All right, here's Archmaester Rennie.
Yay, Rennie.
I remember the first time that I watched The Walking Dead, I was not yet a comic reader, so I didn't have any idea what was coming or what was different. And I was very caught up in the Shane versus Rick tension. And in season 1, I was Team Shane all the way. And in season 2, I very much became Team neither one of them. And with the strength of hindsight, back in season 1, as soon as Rick showed up, I hope I might have seen the clash coming between these two guys who were going to both try to be the alpha. And I hope that I would have had the foresight to ask a few people if they would like to go off with me and concentrate on the mechanics of survival rather than interpersonal drama. I think I would have asked Andrea and Amy and Jackie and Jim if they would like to go off with me. And Lucy, if you'd been on the show, I would have asked you if you would like to come too.
Aww.
But Jason was actually on the show, and he was a walker, so he wouldn't have been able to come with us. Anyway, enjoying your coverage of the rewatch.
Thanks. No, I was a walker in season 2, so maybe it would have saved me. I don't know. But you guys first. But
Alright.
I like that. I also think you need drama in these shows, and if any of these characters would have went off and the camera followed them, then some shit would have happened. You know what I mean? Like, yes, this is about two guys who are like trying to be the alpha for sure, but I just think no matter what, if you're going to have a show like this, then people are going to do dumb things and there's going to be conflict and drama and trouble.
Yeah, I know. I agree.
It's going to be boring. Nobody's going to want
to watch it. I don't know. I quite like the thought of Rennie's spin-off group though.
Yeah. They're just doing everything perfect and never have any problems. Yeah, I think it'd be great. Be a utopia, 100%. I like British Bake Off, so maybe I would. Yeah.
I've also just remembered there's a whole like scene in this episode we didn't talk about where Daryl finds like a little hidey hole that Sophia could be hiding in, but it's very inconsequential. But yeah, we didn't discuss that one, but it's there, so I'm nodding to it now. Yeah, no, I always love hearing from Rennie, and I'm very privileged to be part of that group. So, and
Rennie's gonna come on later this season, so that'll be cool.
Amazing.
So we have one more call from Randy.
Ooh, Randy.
Hey, Jason and Lucy, it's Randy here with another no prize call-in. Last time I called in, I was trying to explain why there are zombies in cars. I actually meant to explain why there were just corpses in the cars, but that bled into this week's thoughts, so I'll add it here. But I'm glad, Jason, you asked. It reminded me. What I want to explain this week is why there are variants early on in The Walking Dead. Now, I'm really going to be pushing my art degree to the limits here, but as a virus replicates, it has to outcompete the previous variant to become more transmissible. In doing so, it generally becomes less deadly. So the virus does a lot of trial and error until it's as transmissible as possible. I think initially the zombie virus probably killed humans with fever, and it probably cooked too much of their brain for the virus to take control of. So I think that explains why there are some corpses in cars that didn't reanimate. They got the strain of the virus that was just too strong. So in order to become more transmissible, the virus had to mutate. And in this mutation, the virus killed the people, but it reanimated the hosts. I think this time, though, it left them with varying recognizable human traits like speed, human recognition, and climbing, which explains the variance we see early on. However, these zombies are too fast and efficient, so they'd eat an entire person whole instead of just biting, killing, and transmitting the zombie disease. So the virus had to put a stop to that. I'm anthropomorphizing a little bit here. But in order to spread fully, it had to create a better transmitter of the virus. So I think it eventually lands on slow-moving reanimated humans. They are just going to catch somebody, bite them, and that person's probably going to get away. They'll die, and the virus will fully spread into them. And one last point I want to cover, because I can hear somebody already saying it, but everybody's already infected. Why would it matter? Well, technically, the zombies spread death, not the virus. And the virus flourishes in a dead corpse. So, more corpses, more virus. And that's why I think there are corpses in cars. I don't think the people just sat there smiling until they died. I think they got an early strain that was too strong, and why I think there are some variants around. If there are any virus experts out there who want to refute this argument, I would just say, how many cat portraits have you painted? I think we know who the real expert is here. Thanks for the rewatch coverage. It's been great. Ta-ta.
My brain kind of hurts thinking about that.
Oh no, Jason, don't die. Don't let your brain overheat. No.
Totally with Randy, about the early virus being too strong. And then you brought up that everyone had the virus already but it's replicating, or that it needs death. And I don't totally understand that part. But I do, it is interesting to think about, viruses, they get less lethal because they're evolved to spread, to survive and replicate. That's what evolution is. Whichever genetic mistakes or accidents lead something to be more successful at replicating and surviving are, of course, the ones that propagate and become dominant. And so among viruses, the less lethal ones become more prominent because they're the ones that spread around more. But anyway, I'm going to let the audience ponder everything he just said, and so will I.
Yeah, I'm absorbing it.
I liked it. I'll have to listen to it a couple more times.
Yeah.
Thanks, Randy. That was very cool. I think you that was money well spent on that art degree.
Yeah, I think so. Creative thinking. I love it.
All right, we have two more messages to read. One is about last week's episode, season 2, episode 3, Save the Last One, from Dina. She says, my husband gave me a crossbow for Christmas. Yeah, at least it's not a vacuum cleaner. Anyway, I've named it Merle. Is that true? That's great.
Amazing.
That's true. The problem is that the gift has changed my focus during this rewatch. I now look at the show entirely from the crossbow's point of view, and I'm enjoying the evolution of its arrows, bolts, from season 1 through season 11. I don't blame the crossbow for not accompanying its owner to France. It didn't blame Daryl when Dwight tore it from Daryl's arms. It knew that Daryl would find it and they'd be together again.
Aw.
The riff started when Daryl shot Leah in the head with a gun. Now that was betrayal. That was a betrayal to the crossbow, not to Leah. The crossbow wanted to shoot Leah in the head. So when it was asked to go to France, it rebelled. No way was it going to shoot snails for Laurent. It asked the producers to write it off the show, and they complied if it agreed to star in one episode in the Daryl Dixon series. Crossbow, by the way, also laughed at Daryl's itchy ass story. I think that this episode, Save the Last One, sees the first impactful moral test in the series. That was quite a shift in
total shift there. Yeah.
I like the crossbow story. Save the Last One sees the first impactful moral test in the series. We don't kill the living is one of the first rules set in season 1. When Shane decides to kill Otis, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, because Rick had said that. When Shane decides to kill Otis, he's breaking this rule and severing his creed as a law officer. There was little doubt that they both would have died at the school. If both died, Carl would most certainly die. And Otis does tell him to leave him. Shane does not. He stands by his code at that point. It would be a no-brainer to kill off Otis if he were untrustworthy like one of the claimers. Viewers would probably cheer. Shane is our hero, and he's saving Carl. Otis, however, is kind, honorable, and brave, and Shane gives him a horrible death without the mercy of killing him first. And Shane is not thinking of Carl at all in this moment. He's not sacrificing Otis to save a child. He kills Otis to save himself. This episode is about teetering on the brink of life and death. 1, should Carl die as Lori believes? If war breaks out in this country, would I want my kids to live through the years of suffering that will unfold? Nope. My husband takes Rick's stance. They have to carry the fire, he says, quoting from McCarthy's book, The Road. I got to read that. And ultimately, Lori chooses to try to save Carl's life. 2, Andrea no longer knows if she wants to live or die. Maybe it's habit, she says. I suspect most of us would stay alive out of habit, even if we're too miserable to want to live. 3, Shane. Shane really does want to do the honorable thing, and his actions prove this a couple of times. He considers Otis to be a partner, but then it's very clear that he's going to die. He chooses to live, probably out of instinct. He is a survivor, after all, but it's still murder. Maggie says that it isn't enough to pray, you must square things with yourself. The anguish and guilt Shane feels is evident due to Bernthal's fantastic acting. Maybe if he had told Rick the truth, he wouldn't have gone all Macbeth in the end. Yeah. Instead, the lie festers until he squares it with himself by telling himself that he did it for Carl. This false belief eventually justifies his decision to murder Rick, but that's further down the line, and there's a lot that happens with Shane before then. Such a great character. Okay, I'm off to target practice with Merle. Wish me luck. I can barely lift the damn thing. Cool.
Oh, Dina, that's amazing. I want a picture of Merle.
Well, Dina, yeah, I think we're in pretty stark disagreement on one thing, whether Shane did that to save himself or to save Carl. And you got, I think, one little detail wrong here. You said that Otis told Shane to go on and Shane said no, but actually it was Shane that told Otis to go on. And Otis
I think they both do it at different points.
Are you sure?
I think so. I'd need to go back and double check, but I'm sure there's a point where Shane doesn't leave Otis where he could.
Okay, I was looking specifically for that and didn't find it, but maybe I missed it. Because I know for sure that Shane tells Otis, you go on without me, and Otis says, I'm not going to leave here without you.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Even if Shane had told Otis, I mean, if Otis had told Shane to go on at some point, still, the fact that Shane told Otis to go on meant that he was ready to sacrifice his life for Carl. You know, one of us is going to get out of here alive. I am telling you to go. That's what Shane said to Otis, and Otis said no. So to me, that says he's not just saving his own life. He's trying to keep Carl alive. And when Otis refused him, that's when Shane decided to make the decision himself, which, you know, is clearly a debatable thing to do, kill someone in any context, for sure.
Yeah. I don't know where I stand on it. I'm going to think on it. I think it is a bit about Carl. It's a lot about Carl, but there's got to be a bit of lizard brain self-preservation in there again. I don't know. I think the guilt does eat at him.
He really made a point to keep him alive, so he would be thrashing around. Well, no, that still could be about his own survival, but to get that damn backpack off of him, and he needed to get that.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to waste that.
He had enough conscious thought to really make a point that I need this backpack. I gotta save Carl.
Yeah.
If it was purely just survival, then he could have just shot him and ran.
Both can be true.
Both
I'm gonna leave it at that.
Yeah, it can be a part of it, but I just think the fact that he did express willingness to sacrifice himself is also a factor there too. Like he told Otis to go along, but yeah. Okay, we got one more message. This one's about One Cut of the Dead, which me and Kara and Randy covered a few weeks back.
Amazing. And Jennifer McGinley has written in to say, I watched Final Cut last night with my cyber friend who lives in another country. It's a French remake of the fabulous One Cut of the Dead, reviewed not long ago and probably my most favourite film ever. I didn't watch One Cut of the Dead in anticipation of the podcast as it's not on any of my platforms, but I found it on YouTube last night. Yes! Gathered Doritos and Christmas chocolates and stuff to settle down and watch it, by which time my cybermate, who refuses to watch anything zombie or subtitled, had discovered the French remake, and it was on BBC iPlayer, and I talked him into watching that one. First 30 minutes or so, the chat went, "This is merde. How can you enjoy this shite? This is the worst thing I've ever seen. I don't know you." I kept saying, wait, you'll love it. Don't know if he loved it, but he did rate it. I loved it though, almost as much as the OG. Very well done. For anyone familiar with these films, I was moved more with the director's relationship with his daughter in the original. They spent more time investing in showing that their relationship was deteriorating, therefore the ending was so much more emotional. But other than that, brilliant remake. If you haven't watched it, please do so. Happy New Year and all that, by the way. Have we said Happy New Year? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody.
To you, Jennifer.
And thanks for suggesting that. I think maybe your suggestion really kind of pushed us over to actually cover that movie, Jennifer. I'd been thinking about it for a while, but I saw that you said you were into it. So I think that's one reason why we did it. So thank you. It's a great one. All right, that is our show, episode 559. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. That was fun. Next episode is The Walking Dead Season 2, Episode 5, Chupacabra.
If you want to write in or leave us a voice message about your own experiences with the Chupacabras, you can find all our contact information at podcastica.com.
I remember not liking that one either, but hopefully it'll be the same as this week. Where
New year, new perspectives.
This episode is made possible by Patreon supporters like Lisa Walker, who've pledged their support at patreon.com/Jason Kabassi. So thank you so much to Lisa. Lisa, I think I mentioned this last week, but I've been putting these episodes out a little bit earlier for Patreon people and also with no ads. So if that appeals to you, maybe you might want to check it out. And by the way, if you do go to podcastica.com, there's a bunch of shows running right now to check out. I know that the What Is From cast, they're getting ready to do a rewatch of the first, I think, 2 seasons of that show.
Cool.
If you haven't gotten into that show, I definitely recommend it. It's like a horror. It is like a horror movie as a show, but it's a lot like Lost. It's very good. Also, Kirk Manley and his friend Lenny just covered all of What If Season 2, 2 episodes per podcast.
We just started
5.
that. Yeah.
And Kirk and Lenny are 2 like old school geeky comic book guys. They're fun to listen to. It's like you're listening into a conversation with 2 geeks talking to each other about comics. They know all the details of the comics that the things came from. And because that show came out once a day for 9 days and they just cranked out these podcasts, I don't think it got a lot of listens. But if you're just now getting around to watching What If, I recommend going in and checking it out. It's really fun.
That sounds amazing.
All right, that's our show.
Thanks for listening. Don't get bit, Alex Kruger.
Cause no one wanted your sticky chair. And why you always talk about the cool kids who take archery? Yeah, you're a shrinky dink. You get a funeral if you don't wise up.